Welcome to Utah Stories Top 5. Today is March 4th. So today we are looking at how all the workers in Park City are basically priced out of the housing market there. How and why that happened. And we have four other awesome top headlines about affordable housing, what the legislature's done. We're going to get to all of that. But our question of the day: why does it seem everybody's in more pain when there's low pressure systems? We went from a high pressure system all of last week to this low pressure system this week. Saw this dramatic change in weather. It went from spring to winter again. Why is it everybody becomes more in pain? We actually look at the science behind that. That's our question of the day. So you're going to want to tune in and watch the whole thing. But before we get to all of that, we want to tell you this episode is brought to you by Utah Stories Magazine. This is our brand new craft beer issue that just hit the stands. It is now available all over downtown Salt Lake City, downtown Ogden, Moab, Park City, but it is our fastest moving issue of the year every year. So you're probably going to have difficulty getting your hands on it after the first 2 weeks of the month. So in that case, you're going to have to go out to utahstories.com and subscribe to Utah Stories. This is also a really great way to support our content. We really love to do a lot of investigative journalism. We present the voices of local Utah. We are so grateful for everybody that's become a subscriber or a member, and we're actually having a special event, which I'll provide more details on, launching this issue at Shades Brewing. And I'm going to be reviewing this Shades beer later on in the episode. This is a sour ale brewed with coconut, lemongrass, kefir, and lactose. Am I going to like it? I don't like super complicated beers. I'm a Pilsner guy. I will give you my honest opinion. So that's coming up later on in the program. All right. So let's dive into our first headline and story. I find this one very interesting. We just entered the Park City market. We have a Park City section in Utah Stories. And I always think about the restaurants there. Obviously, they have incredible restaurants. It's like the Hollywood elite. All have second, third, fourth homes up there. Sting has a home there. And I believe it's Peekaboo Street, and a bunch of celebs have houses up there. But now it's basically completely priced out of the market for anybody who's working class. So according to the Salt Lake Tribune, Caroline Almack moved out of Park City last fall after the owner of the house she was renting with two others said they had to leave so it could be rented out to seasonal winter workers. Now she commutes from Salt Lake City up Parley's Canyon to her property management job, fighting through ski traffic and commuter congestion that on the worst days can make the 25-mile drive last an entire hour. We met somebody up there who commutes an hour and a half a day to get to her job in a gallery there. Kara Cook, a public school teacher, moved away from Park City in 2013 searching for housing she didn't have to share with 6 other adults. She was able to move back into her hometown in 2018 when she and her family won a literal lottery with a ping pong ball and a machine spinning around for affordable housing in the town. So that's what they basically come to. If not for that, she couldn't live where she grew up. There are many other examples of workers who cannot live in Park City. Park City has an estimated 8,500 residents and is one of the only cities in Utah where the number of workers considerably outnumbers residents, according to the housing report. About 11,000 workers commute to Park City every day, where an estimated 8,000 of them are making less than $40,000 a year. And the question I have is, why not quadruple the taxes of property owners who just have housing up in Park City as a bank for their money and their investment? Now, I dabble in real estate investment, but if you've got 4 homes and most of those homes are empty, you're not even renting them, why not quadruple the taxes? And then that would incentivize people to rent those homes for most of the year and then open them up for when they're in town. It just seems like that would be a total no-brainer. All right, our next story. Republicans are in a race for Senator Mitt Romney's Senate seat. So Senator Mitt Romney, if you haven't heard, decided he will not run again after serving 1 term in the Senate. He's actually highly unpopular with Republicans. Democrats love him, though. Salt Lake Tribune loves him. Now, 10 Republicans are fighting to replace the senator, All the Republicans are attempting to differentiate themselves in this race. According to KSL, at the beginning of the Senate candidate and current congressional member John Curtis' introductory ad is a booming voice. John Curtis has done more for Utah than anyone. Curtis makes a face and says, "Hold it, that sounds too much like a typical politician. Start over." The ad goes on to introduce voters to his family, his resume, the issues, the wasteful spending, energy independence, border security. So he's running. Brad Wilson, who's the former House Speaker, is also running. And it's obviously a lot of money will go into the race. And I think that I actually don't have a very strong opinion. Obviously, it's going to be more of a staunch conservative, traditional conservative than the rhino that Mitt Romney's been. What you think about Mitt Romney, you can comment below. All right, so this is interesting. Senator Mike Lee is tackling the pornography crisis, I guess not just in Utah, but in the United States. So there's obviously, ever since the dawn of the internet, I've heard that more people visit porn sites as a general category than any other type of site on the internet. And they found that a ton of traffic to porn sites was coming from Utah. So obviously there was a lot of porn addiction and a lot of that going on in Utah. Gallup polling data from 2023 shows that 39% of respondents say pornography is morally acceptable. That's up from 30% in 2011 when Gallup first started asking the question. Other survey data shows that 37% of baby boomers, people born from 1946 to 1964, think pornography is very bad for society. By comparison, 14% of young adults hold that same view. 51% of respondents say they disagree with the idea that pornography was morally wrong. So 15 other states followed Utah in passing resolutions to declare pornography a public health crisis. Psychology and health communication researchers have sounded the alarm, pointing toward negative impacts of viewership like increased physical aggression and a distorted perception of intimacy, which is, I've noticed people who are addicted to porn have a problem with intimate relationships and bonding with adults, with people they're in a relationship with. So it's an issue Senator Mike Lee has taken on in Washington, and he tries to get legislation passed aimed at protecting children from seeing pornography, giving victim survivors paths for legal recourse, according to KSL. Quote, "We have far more young people today having access to essentially unlimited supply of pornographic material," end quote, Lee said in an interview with Deseret News. A 2022 report found that 73% of teens between the ages of 13 and 17 have consumed pornography, defined as any photos or videos viewed on websites, social media, anywhere else on the internet that show nudity and sexual acts intended to entertain and sexually arouse the viewer. Do you have an opinion about pornography? We'd love to hear from you on the comments below. I think the problem with pornography also is it is an addiction. It's a serotonin release. And to be addicted to that sensation and be doing that in the wee hours of the morning is going to affect all other aspects of your life. So my 2 cents on it. All right, next headline. Cox praises millions allocated for homeless services, but is it enough? No, I can answer that question. It's not enough because there's not enough services. There's too much land going to billionaire developers and not enough going to homeless buildings, as we will. I had Rocky Anderson on the podcast. We talked all about this. Rocky reported to me, which I reported in more depth, that the Ramada Inn was supposed to be this wonderful homeless facility. And it's a giant, like 5-acre tract of land. It could have provided homeless housing to about 450 individuals. Instead, that land was sold to the Miller family because it's right across the street from where the ballpark stadium is slated to be, where the city's basically giving $2 million to the Miller family. Why did that happen? The Tribune has not answered that question. I find that interesting. The Tribune reported on it, but they did not answer the question. Why is it okay for billionaires to be getting giant tax breaks and for land allocated for homeless people to basically be sold off to these same billionaires? I just can't believe it. So I don't think there's enough money being allocated, and this is a constant problem. But the problem also is they are not keeping tabs on how that money is being allocated and the return on investment. So we also get into the homeless industrial complex that exists here in Utah, as it does in every other major municipality, that there's no incentive for homeless leaders to actually solve the problem, because they can earn more and more money the worse and worse and worse the problem is. So big problem. And be sure to watch our interview with Rocky Anderson, which we are publishing online tomorrow. All right, so headline number 5. This comes from Moab. I went out to Moab. I saw this development. It's the Kane Creek development. They kicked out all the hippies living in the caves. If you remember, all of the buses that were lining the street that were there for like decades. They kicked everybody out of Kane Creek. They got rid of a camping spot. Now it's this massive development right on the river. The legislature is on track to grant $1 million to Kane Creek developer. Weston was one of 3 business partners of Kane Creek Preservation and Development Committee who commented on the agenda as an organization, describing the organization's goal as, quote, nothing short of a complete overhaul of housing policy in Utah, end quote. He said the organization, which is registered under the political consulting group Election Hive, has bipartisan support and aims to both shape land use process and help the public better understand the underlying issues and challenges. Quote, development and land use remain very complicated matters as a result of a lot of passion among the people, understandably, quote, end quote, Weston wrote in an email, but it is critical that all of us find better ways to balance property rights and economic concerns. That hasn't stopped Moab residents from protesting, because that will not be affordable housing at all. The Kane Creek developments are all going to be high-end luxury housing. So people have started protesting. Unfortunately, it's a little bit late for that. A Moab City councilor and executive director of Moab Area Community Land Trust, Myers, clarified she was not speaking on behalf of the organization, but she said, quote, it's frustrating and perplexing, she continued, to see that this nonprofit, which was created 4 months ago, is being recommended $1 million with less than a paragraph's worth explanation for what the fund will go toward or how it would be held accountable. All right, we'll keep our eyes on that. We're going to write a story next month about affordable housing in Moab, so stay tuned and consider subscribing for that. All right, our question of the day. When the barometric pressure drops, you always hear old people complain about aches and pains. Is that real? Like, how does barometric pressure in the atmosphere impact joints and pain? We looked into this, and this is the answer we got. It has a range of negative effects, obviously. It's true. It exacerbates existing health conditions, and it causes more falls and injuries because people's joints don't work as well. Why does this happen? Because you have internal body pressure, and that internal body pressure needs to change and adapt as soon as the barometric pressure goes down. That affects your heart, your valves, your joints, your ligaments, all of the blood vessels in your body. So when you're not as active as young people and you're a little more sedentary, that pressure, like a pressure release valve in a tank, that has to be released somehow, and it's just going to feel like pain if that pressure isn't relieved. So you need to get out, exercise, get their cardiovascular system working more in order to alleviate that pressure. I found I actually get pain in my hand, but it happens when I eat gluten and the pressure drops. I get this sort of, I guess it's arthritis. It's kind of sad, but it's definitely affects my health. My wife has chronic migraines. She gets more migraines when the pressure goes down. So this low pressure system is supposed to start moving out in the next few days. So that'll be nice when it's gone. Okay, to our adventure of the day, we have a giveaway to Margot Silker. Is that how you pronounce it? Cilker on Friday, March 8th, along with a $50 Cafe Molise gift card for a lucky person who gets on our Instagram account, tag a couple of friends. Follow us? Is that it? and then we're all good. Okay, Shades Brewing, one of the best breweries in Salt Lake City. They produce this brew it's called their Kvik series. It's only available seasonally, but this is called Thai Tom Kha American Sour Style Ale. It's brewed with coconut, lemon, gangal, kefir leaf, and lactose. I'm going to sample this now. I've never tried this beer. I'm not a huge fan of really complicated beers. I like light pilsners, but I wanted to try this sour because I actually do really love some sours. Wow, that's very sour. Wow. Yeah, it's coconut for sure. And it's a little bit lemongrassy. I can taste that. Yeah, it's not my cup of tea. I like light pilsners, like I said. I don't like overly complicated beers, but it's definitely interesting. It's definitely like nothing I've tried. So go check this out at Shades. I think if you love sours, like I like some sours. I mean, rarely do I like sours, but I think if you like sours, you'll like this. But it's not exactly my thing, but it's definitely interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you have it. Thai Tom Kha American Sour Style Ale. I'd say give it a shot if you like sours. If you don't like them, then don't do it. All right. So thank you so much for joining me today. I want to tell you our Shades event is on Friday, March 15th from 7 to 9 p.m. Mark your calendar because this will be a very fun event. We will have food trucks there. We will have a raffle, giveaway, a band. It's going to be like a St. Patty's Day type event. It'll be a lot of really fun trivia and things that we want to do to get these raffle items out. So go check it out. It's at utahstories.com. You can see the ad in our magazine right now. It's this right here. Can you see that? And yeah, it'll be great. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, if you like this content and you want to engage to a greater degree with your local community, go out and subscribe to either Utah Stories print magazine or our free digital newsletter. From utahstories.com, you can subscribe to our newsletter that offers all the stories that we are covering in-house. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.